Today we will be going over asking questions. This presentation is done by Chloe, Kelsey, Rihanna, and Marcos. The importance of asking questions. Questions help the reader clarify ideas and deepen understanding. Asking questions while you read shows that you are awake, paying attention, and thinking about the information. It helps the reader form emotional attachment to the characters and forms a clearer picture inside the reader's head. Quality of questions. Children are full of questions, especially at a young age, which shows with their intelligence and eagerness to learn. Parents and teachers should encourage children to ask real and valuable questions and that really make them think. When you read, ask them a thought-provoking question, such as questions about what the title of the book means, who are the characters in the book, and questions that would ignite the curiosity of the book. While reading, look at the pictures and ask them about what is happening in the pictures and what a character is doing, or why they are doing it. It is also important to use questioning language, which would include these examples listed here. While children are learning to read, provide them a risk-free environment for asking questions for developing their thinking strategy. You need to make sure to praise a child for asking about a word that they do not know, as it may be hard for them. Then help the student figure out what word they would mean by using context clues. You can also use things such as a schematic map. As an advancing reader, children are moving on to asking and answering more difficult questions about what they read. This can be qualified as thick or thin questions. Teachers teaching to jot down notes about the questions they have while reading to think about the reading is important at this stage. When they have these questions written down, they will have to figure out how they will find out the answers to these questions. Some questions will be answered at the end of the reading, while some will be left unanswered. Instead of just bringing your child in and just lecturing them about the questions, just start asking questions. Children always want to know why they ask why. Get their minds thinking. Instead of asking yes or no questions all the time, you should ask the children what they actually make them think, and what their answer will be. So this can include forms of how is that, why is that, what makes you feel this way. These develop an environmental of learning in our homes. Children's learning and reading improves the more they read and the questions they will ask while reading. So, when reading a book, act as if you, the reader, were talking to the author. This will spark more questions for the child and yourself. Ask questions like, why does the bunny keep running away? This will inspire children to start thinking about more questions they have for the author. Ask the author why, what, where, who, and how questions to allow deeper thinking. Playing the I Wonder game with your children is also a great technique to get them to predicting about what comes next. If children think reading is all about vocabulary and worksheets practicing it, they will never enjoy it. It is our job as teachers to come up with fun and engaging activities for them to get their practice in. Reading should never be a chore, therefore children should never feel that way. Nobody curls up with their vocabulary list and studies it. Reading a book should be fun and relaxing and be something that they want to do. Over the course of teaching students, it is important that they understand the need to be in charge of their learning. This happens to include their questions. The learner must be able to generate key questions before, during, and after. In order for them to be able to do this at a high level, it is the teacher's job to model what they expect. Once that is modeled, the teacher needs to get out of their way. It sounds difficult to teach a student to ask questions that have meaning. An activity you can use is to place interesting items in your classroom and having the students go around with sticky notes writing down their thoughts as well as questions. This will allow the student to get comfortable with asking things. You can also use another activity that involves poetry, utilizing the idea of thick and thin questions, basically the idea of the why is that or how is that versus yes or no questions, or the actual morality of the story. It allows the student to process the general questions like what is the author talking about, as well as look deeper into the meaning. Having the students connect with their parents by asking questions to find out things like their jobs or hobbies is a fun thing that uh, they can do to allow their students to get a better understanding of how questions work. Some of the graphic organizers we were able to come up with consisted of a before reading chart, during reading chart, and after reading chart. And then we also had an asking questions. These are two different forms of it. So possible activities include using sticky notes as a math class and placing them the before, during, and after, as well as the SWIP swap. SWIP swap, your item is another classmate item. You look closely at your classmate's item, draw a detailed picture of it, and ask what the question is about. Meet them and then meet back up in the class with the classmate and ask them the question, then recording their answer. This is all that we had for our questionings.